Hey friends, so we're looking at 9 weeks till Kona, and it actually dawned on me this week that it's less than 9 weeks when you consider that I have got build phase and then taper, and oh my gosh. So this week though was actually a really good training week. It was a little bit of recovery, but a little bit of not. I don't know, the coach told me going in that I was going to have more of a recovery week. Then I still ended up having a 5-hour brick on Wednesday, which I guess in this scheme of Ironman training is kind of a recovery day. It was extremely hot again. I feel like I've said that ad nauseum in these videos. It's extremely hot again in Northern Virginia. The humidity has been out of control. The day that I had the approximately 5-hour brick, I thought my skin was melting off. It feels like 102 with like 70 to 80% humidity, and it was gross, but you know what was awesome about that is maybe Kona will feel like a breezy, nice, fun day. Don't get me wrong. I'm not underestimating what the lava fields will be like. I just am definitely going to be acclimated. Of course, it's going to take a turn here in a couple weeks in Virginia. We're going to end up having cooler weather. So I'm just going to have to crank up the indoor heater and just get to rolling on the trainer. But this past week, I've definitely committed to more outside riding, which is a really big thing for me and something I committed to this season. In fact, my biggest goals for this season were to get uncomfortable, to do more outside riding, and to work on form. And you know, all of that probably sounds like common sense, but with this being only my third season in triathlon, I wanted to really be a little bit more smarter than working harder. Not that I'm not working hard, but I feel like I really was just bull in a china shop and toughing it out for the first few years, getting my legs under me, literally. And so this year I decided it was time to get a little bit smarter. I've got Kona, and then next year I have Epic 565, which is 5 half Ironmans in 5 days on 5 islands of Hawaii. And so I figured, you know, it's definitely time to really start digging in. Getting uncomfortable, of course, is definitely easy to do when it feels like 102 with all the humidity, but form has been a huge one, as well as riding outside. A couple weeks ago, I was at Annie Potts camp out at the Olympic Training Center. We rode outside every single day, and I think that was a good, nice confidence boost for me. It's really hard to find a place to go ride around here while they have bike routes that the state has designated. They're not bike routes. We don't have bike paths. They're regular, like 1 lane each way roads, and they're very unsafe. You spend your entire time fearing for your life. And you know, as much as I want to do my best at Kona and have a really good season, I have 5 kids at home. I have a husband. I've got 2 puppy dogs, and it's not worth getting injured or hurt, or even worse, and by a vehicle. So for me, it's been very difficult to try to ride outside because the closest place to go, since I primarily ride by myself, is about 45 minutes to an hour away. It's actually a wonderful place to ride to, and that's where I do my long bricks at. It's through a national forest, and it is a small road, but there's hardly anybody there, and the majority of people that are out there are cyclists or runners. If you see cars, it's the park ranger pretty much, and they're driving like 10 miles per hour. It's not a big deal. And there's dedicated bike paths, and there's climbing, there's flats, there's false flats. So you can get all sorts of terrain and focus, and it's fairly shaded, which is very nice when it's been so hot. But it just takes a bit extra time, obviously, to get there, to ride, run, and then have to drive back. But I am trying to do that weekly now, really trying to commit to doing that, because that's going to benefit me the most when it comes down to Kona. And it also helps me to get uncomfortable, because then I'm not sitting in my air-conditioned house riding on the trainer, which nothing wrong with that, because my first 2 Ironmans I did primarily on trainer. I can count, maybe 6 times that I rode outside of races for both Ironmans. I did primarily on trainer for many of the reasons I just said. It's, you know, either the weather, or it's too far for me to really go someplace since I don't ride a lot in groups, and just overall just being safe. Being safe is what's most important. And also, it was just easy to talk myself into a 5-hour ride when I can watch Netflix as opposed to riding outside. But I'm really digging audiobooks this season. You know, a lot of people recommend that you don't train with any music since we can't have it on race day. And you know what I did for my first 2 Ironmans? I used music, and I still was fine on race day. I do think there's great benefits to not having anything sound talking to you during training time, so that you can learn the mental toughness. And I've kind of transitioned that to audiobooks, and I definitely have really enjoyed going that route. It allows me to be able to zone out a bit and listen without having the upbeat of music that ends up inspiring adrenaline and faster paces. I'm still having to hold my own paces on my own, and it's the only time that I really get to have an enjoyment reading, if you will. So that's been the big things for this week. Was riding outside, was a big break. I've got another one coming up this week. Getting uncomfortable definitely in the heat, and just really focus on, form was the last thing. Form has been really big. I have been struggling with glute and core issues for a couple of years. I probably haven't shared on my channel much, but a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I ended up having to have muscle reconstruction in my core. I had a 4-inch gap that was had a potential of herniating, and it was just from having kids. It was from having excessive weight gain, from my thyroid cancer issues and the pregnancies combined, and so I ended up having that fixed after my first Ironman. So I'm still coming back from being able to make sure that my core is strong, but also my glutes are strong. Glutes are something that all of us could really work on. So even if you don't have a lack of core problems, glutes become really weak. A lot of us are very sedentary. We're sitting at computers a lot, and so our glutes aren't firing, and often you're running from your quads and your back and not your glutes. And so for me, that was like the big revelation I had this week, which sounds so dumb because it sounds so simplistic, right? But it wasn't simplistic for me. I'm a self-taught runner. I'm a self-taught everything except for swimming. And so it just was really nice to be learning the form and feeling stronger. A lot of it was revolutionized the week that I went and trained under Andy. And you know what? I'll share with you guys. I went up to him after our track workout, after he was watching our form. And I've been working very hard because in pictures you could see that my hips were extremely dropped. I've been using the Lumo Run gadget that sits on your lower back, and it measures your tilt, your twist, your drop, your braking, your cadence, and all of that. It's a really great little tool to have, but I was also wanting to have an outside feedback, and Andy said to me, oh no, you can tell you're working on it, because obviously my hips were not dropping. I was focused really hard, and I was talking about weak core, and one thing he said for women, of course I didn't expect this. I expected to get some sort of answer like, oh, go work on abs, or go work on your back, or go work on your glutes. Andy looks at me. Now, mind you, I had only met him a couple days before at this training camp. And Andy looks at me and goes, have you done Kegels? And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is like the weirdest conversation we're about to have. And he goes, no, my wife really recommends it. I only know it because of her. And it's so true, because all of that's interconnected within there. So I've got weak lower core, I've got weak inner core, I've got weak glutes. And so I've been working on that. And I actually love the timing of this because Gwen Jorgensen, who was the Olympic gold medalist for the USA in the last Olympics, she just posted recently about Kegels and all of that sort of training. And so she has a whole entire video that she just recently posted on her YouTube channel about the training and the exercises and stuff you can do. So that was timely. And then I also went to a physical therapist, and they go, your glutes are misfiring. Your glutes aren't even firing. And so that was where a lot of my problem was coming from, is that my hips were dropping and that I've been running from my back and from my legs and not from my glutes. And so doing a lot of research on that, a lot of focus on that. If you are someone who has been dragging on working on form like I was, or is still in the process of doing it, don't get frustrated. One thing that I notice is that my paces have been slowing. This includes swimming, because I've injected some of the things that I learned from Andy and some other research that I've done, and I feel like my pace has backed off a bit. You're retraining your muscles, you're retraining your body in order to focus in a different form. And so, like my example with the glutes, mine are super weak. And so when I'm using my glutes, they're a weak muscle right now, right? And so they don't have the full power of what my other muscles had, but it's important to learn the proper form, because once they become stronger, they're going to outperform the other muscles. I'm going to have better form for the longer time to be able to get through the marathon on Ironman, really good form and focus. So I encourage you, don't be frustrated if your pace starts backing off a bit, or if it just feels like it's a lot more effort, because it is. You're using weaker muscles. I've fixed a few things on my shoulders for swimming, and I definitely have felt the tiredness from that. And same thing for the glutes, the Kegels, and the lower core work. But form, definitely important. I know that we're coming somewhat to the end of triathlon season, and running season's going to be picking up. So if you're someone who wants to work on this, I think there's there's not a good time. I mean, there's not a good time. You can focus on it at any time. What I mean is, I don't think that there's one specific time of the season that you should be focused on this. It'd be easy to say, oh, off season, focus on it, which is probably the time you're going to have more time investment for it, but you can start doing it now. I looked up a few glute firing exercises, and I was doing it when we were walking around World Market yesterday. Just little things to start improving, because little deposits in the bank will go a long way. So those are the major things that I'll learn this week of training. I cannot believe that it is ticking down to now 8 weeks. This was 9 weeks out. Getting a little nervous about it. In fact, I'm actually most nervous about the bike, which I'm never nervous about the bike. I'm normally nervous about the run, but I'm nervous about the bike after my experience at Raleigh, which I had the video of with that race report, and I blew up on bike. I was just having so much fun, and then actually I was good on the bike, and then it caused me to blow up on the run, and it sounds so immature and novice, but it happens to even the best of us. And so it's all about trying to find that fine line of pushing yourself without going across the edge. And so I'm getting a little nervous about that for Kona. So we'll see what happens with that. Thank you guys for joining me for another week. I really do try to make these not just about, oh, guess what I did this week. Really hope that you guys get some great tips. So please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Leave me some feedback, any questions you have. I'm happy to do other videos outside of weekly training reports to be able to help you, because I'm an everyday athlete just like you, and I would love to give back because I have learned so much from the community. And so that's just my little way of giving back to you guys.